The sound of water touched the edges of the quiet lake as morning light rose between the trees. The air was calm, and the smell of pine drifted through the wind. Liam stood on the porch of his small wooden cabin, holding a cup of warm tea in his hands. It had taken him months to finish building this place. It was far from the noise of the city, far from the tall buildings and heavy streets. Here he found peace, space to breathe, and a place to work on his dream without interruption. Liam was not a rich man or a famous one. He was an engineer who loved solving problems. For years he had worked in a city laboratory, studying how to make clean energy that used nature instead of burning fuel. People in his office laughed at his ideas, saying it was impossible to make power from lake resonance and magnetic flow, but he believed that nature could give energy if humans learned to listen to it. When the government noticed his small success in an experiment, they asked him to continue it in a private place. That was why he had chosen this cabin beside the calm lake. The cabin had 2 rooms, a wide porch, and a small workshop behind it. Inside the workshop were simple machines, wires, and a metal sphere that sat in a glass container filled with clear water. It glowed softly when he switched it on. The energy came from the rhythm of the lake, captured by sensors that followed water vibrations. It was silent, clean, and constant. Liam called it the still wave core. He worked day and night to make it stable. He was expecting a visitor soon. The state attorney general was coming to review his work and decide if it was safe for wider use. It was an important meeting that could change his future. If the project was approved, every small town in the state could get cheap, clean electricity without harming nature. Liam had cleaned the cabin the night before and prepared documents and reports. He wanted everything to be perfect, but not everyone around the lake liked his presence. The nearby community had an association called the Lakeside Homeowners Association. They liked order, rules, and control. They decided what color people could paint their homes, how long grass should be, and when noise was allowed. They didn't like anyone who lived differently. The leader of that association was a woman named Karen. She was known for her strict attitude and endless complaints. She liked to feel important, liked to show others she was in charge. When Liam moved in, she came to his cabin and asked if he had filled the HOA forms. Liam smiled politely and told her he didn't live inside the association's zone, only near it. But she didn't accept that. She said every home near the lake had to follow the same rules. Since then, Karen had kept an eye on him. She would pass by his cabin, take pictures of the roof, write notes in her small book, and tell others that he might be breaking environmental rules. She didn't know about his work or the government involvement. She only saw a quiet man working with strange machines and thought he must be doing something wrong. That morning, as Liam adjusted the sensors and checked the readings, Karen stood near the edge of the trees watching him. She saw cables running into the lake and a small light glowing inside the workshop. Her suspicion grew stronger. She thought he was dumping waste or stealing power. She pulled out her phone and took pictures again. Inside the cabin, Liam was focused. The readings showed perfect balance. The water pulse and magnetic field were aligned. It meant the core was working better than ever. He smiled, feeling a small wave of pride. Humanity had always looked for power outside itself. But this project was proof that nature and technology could live together without harm. He heard a car approaching and looked out the window. A black government car parked near the dirt road. A tall man stepped out wearing a gray suit. Liam recognized him immediately. It was Mr. Howard, the state attorney general. He carried a kind but serious look on his face. Liam walked out to greet him. "Good morning, Mr. Howard," Liam said with a polite nod. "Good morning, Liam," the man replied with a smile. "It is peaceful here. I can see why you chose this place for your work." Liam led him inside. They sat at the small wooden table. Papers and data sheets were neatly arranged. Liam explained how the still wave core captured energy from natural resonance. He showed small graphs and live readings. Mr. Howard listened carefully, asking clear questions. His voice was calm, but Liam could tell he was impressed. "This could help many people," Mr. Howard said. "No smoke, no fuel, no pollution. It is something special. If your final tests go well, we will begin funding the next phase." Liam felt a spark of hope. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot to me." Outside, Karen was getting angry. She saw 2 men talking inside the cabin and assumed something illegal was happening. Her mind built stories faster than facts. She believed he was selling technology without permission, or maybe creating danger for the lake. Her sense of control pushed her to act. She tightened her jacket and started walking toward the cabin with quick steps. Inside, Liam continued to explain his notes when they heard footsteps on the porch. He turned, surprised. The door opened before he could speak. Karen walked in with her clipboard in hand. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "I need to know what is going on here. This area is under HOA supervision, and I have received complaints about strange lights and sounds." Liam stood from his chair. "You can't just walk in like that. This is private property. I have the right to check if any activity breaks community rules," Karen replied, her tone filled with pride. She looked around the cabin, her eyes landing on the glowing sphere and the cables. "What is this? Some kind of dangerous experiment? You cannot use unapproved equipment near the lake." Liam tried to remain calm. "This is part of a clean energy project. It is safe. I have permission to operate it here." "From whom?" Karen demanded. Mr. Howard, who had been sitting quietly, stood up. His calm expression didn't change. "From the state of our government," he said. "I am the Attorney General, and this man's work is being reviewed for official approval." Karen froze. The clipboard in her hand dropped slightly. Her eyes widened and her confident tone faded. I didn't know. I thought he was breaking the rules." Mr. Howard looked at her kindly but firmly. "Sometimes assumptions cause more trouble than truth. You should learn to ask before accusing. This man's research could benefit many families, including yours." Karen opened her mouth but couldn't find words. She turned red and mumbled an apology. "I only wanted to make sure everything was safe." Liam gave a small nod. "Everything here is safe. I work to make the world a little better, not worse." Mr. Howard added, "You have done enough for today, ma'am. Please allow us to continue our work in peace." Karen stepped back slowly. She glanced one last time at the sphere glowing gently inside the glass container. Without another word, she walked out and closed the door behind her. The silence returned, broken only by the soft hum of the machine. Liam took a deep breath, a mix of relief and disbelief washing over him. He had expected questions from the government, not a sudden invasion by an angry neighbor. Mr. Howard smiled slightly. "You handled that well. Many people fear what they do not understand, but truth always speaks louder in the end." Liam nodded. "Fear builds walls, but knowledge opens doors." They returned to the table. The rest of the morning passed with calm discussion and careful testing. Liam showed how the energy was drawn naturally from the lake's rhythm, how the readings stayed stable, and how no harm was done to the water or the fish. Mr. Howard took notes and seemed satisfied. By noon, the sun reflected brightly on the lake surface. The small waves looked golden. Mr. Howard stood and said, "You have done great work here, Liam. I will prepare my report and send my team next week for official measurement. I believe this technology can bring real change." Liam shook his hand firmly. "Thank you, sir. I will keep improving the design until it's ready for everyone." When the car drove away, Liam sat back on the porch, looking at the calm water. He could hear distant sounds of birds and the soft buzz of his generator. For a moment he smiled. Humans were far from perfect, but they were capable of great things. Every small step of understanding made the world a little brighter. In the trees beyond, Karen stood hidden once again, feeling both embarrassed and curious. She had seen something she didn't understand, something that challenged her sense of control. But deep inside, a small part of her felt wonder instead of fear. The lake shimmered under the afternoon sun, and the cabin stood still like a quiet promise of progress. Humanity's strength was not in rules or power, but in courage, learning, and the will to create. Liam believed that with all his heart, as he looked at the glowing sphere. The journey had only begun. The morning after the visit from the Attorney General was quiet and cool. The air smelled fresh and a thin mist floated above the still water. Liam woke up early and went outside to check his sensors near the lake. The surface of the water was calm, and small ripples spread from the cables that connected his energy collectors. The soft hum from his generator filled the air. It was the sound of progress, steady and peaceful. Inside the cabin, Liam had spent most of the night organizing notes and reports from the meeting. He was happy that the Attorney General had approved the next step of his research. The government's support meant his invention could move from testing to real use. It meant that one day, homes across the state could get clean power from nature instead of burning fuel. The thought gave him strength and hope. As he walked back toward the porch, he noticed something unusual. Across the lake, Near the group of houses belonging to the HOA, several people were standing together talking and pointing in his direction. Their voices carried across the water faintly. He could not hear the words, but he understood what was happening. Karen had told them something. She must have spoken about his meeting and the strange machine inside his cabin. It was not surprising. She liked to share everything she saw, and now she had a new story to tell. Liam shook his head gently. He did not like conflict, but he also knew that progress often invited misunderstanding. People feared what they did not know. He decided to stay calm and focused. He went inside to continue his work. Karen, meanwhile, had not slept well. The meeting she had interrupted still played in her mind. She felt embarrassed and angry with herself, but her pride made her twist the story in her own head. Instead of admitting her mistake, she convinced herself that the two men had made her leave because they were hiding something. She began to believe that her suspicion had been right all along. By mid-morning, she had gathered 3 members of the HOA board in her living room. They were curious and eager to hear her story. She told them about the glowing machine, the cables, and the strange man in the suit. She said she was worried about environmental safety and community law. Her voice grew louder as she spoke. The others listened, some doubtful, some interested. They decided to visit the cabin with her to inspect the situation. Karen smiled proudly. She felt she was doing her duty again. Back at the cabin, Liam was inside the workshop testing a small new attachment. He adjusted the power level and watched the readings rise smoothly. The blue light inside the sphere brightened, showing that the machine was collecting energy from the natural vibration of the lake. It was working perfectly. He wrote down the numbers in his notebook, pleased with the progress. He heard the faint crunch of tires on the dirt road and looked through the window. 3 cars were approaching slowly. He recognized one of them as Karen's. The other 2 belonged to members of the HOA. Liam sighed and set down his tools. He knew trouble was coming again. The cars stopped near the edge of his yard. Karen stepped out first, wearing sunglasses and holding her clipboard as always. 2 men followed her, one carrying a small camera. They looked serious, as if they were about to carry out some official inspection. Liam stepped out of the cabin to meet them before they reached the porch. "Good morning," he said in a calm voice. "Can I help you with something?" Karen replied quickly. "We have received reports about unusual activity here. We need to confirm that everything you are doing is legal and safe for the community." "This property is outside the HOA boundary," Liam reminded her politely. "I already explained that to you. We still have the right to ensure that nothing dangerous is happening near the lake," Karen said firmly. "People are concerned." Liam looked at the 2 men standing behind her. "Did the community send you here officially?" One of them spoke hesitantly. "We just came to take a look. Some neighbors are worried about the lights at night." Liam sighed but kept his composure. "You are welcome to look, but I ask that you do not touch anything. This is scientific equipment under government supervision." Karen raised an eyebrow. "Government supervision? That sounds convenient. Do you have any proof of that claim?" Liam smiled faintly. "Yes, I do. The Attorney General visited yesterday. He inspected the project himself." The men exchanged quick glances. Karen looked surprised for a moment, then recovered her tone. "Anyone can claim something like that. Until I see proof, I have to assume you are running unapproved equipment." She stepped past Liam and began walking toward the workshop. Liam followed her quickly, not wanting her to touch anything that could disrupt the system. "Please do not enter without permission," he said, keeping his voice firm but calm. Karen ignored him and pushed open the door. The 2 men followed her slowly, uncertain if they should be there. Inside, the workshop glowed with soft blue light from the stillwave core. The air was warm and filled with the gentle hum of energy. The metal sphere rested inside the glass container, shining steadily. Karen looked around with sharp eyes. "This looks like some kind of reactor," she said. "What is inside that container?" "It is water from the lake," Liam explained patiently. "The energy is drawn from its natural resonance. Nothing harmful is produced. It is clean power. Do you have a permit?" she asked again. "Yes," Liam answered. "Signed and approved by the State Energy Department. The Attorney General himself reviewed it." Karen took pictures with her phone while speaking. "If that is true, you will not mind if I report this to the Environmental Safety Division." "You can report anything you want," Liam said, standing between her and the machine. "But please do not come closer. The equipment is sensitive. The two men looked uncomfortable. One whispered to Karen, "Maybe we should go. If this is really a government project, we could get in trouble." Karen hesitated. Her pride and curiosity battled inside her. She wanted to leave, but she also wanted to prove she was right. She turned to Liam. "If this is safe, you will have no problem showing us the papers." Liam nodded and walked to a small drawer, pulling out a folder. He handed her a copy of the official document. The paper carried the seal of the state and a signature from the Attorney General's office. Karen stared at it, realizing it was genuine. "This does not mean everything is safe," she said weakly. "We will still inform the board." "You can do that," Liam replied. "But please remember, progress does not come from fear. It comes from trust and understanding." Karen did not answer. She turned around, gesturing to the two men to leave. They stepped out into the fresh air, relief visible on their faces. She followed them silently, her confidence slowly fading. After they drove away, Liam stood for a moment on the porch, watching the lake. The water reflected the blue sky. He felt tired but also proud that he had stayed calm. He had no desire to fight his neighbors, but he knew he could not allow fear to stop his work. Humanity had made mistakes in the past, but people like him were trying to fix them. Every invention, every discovery, carried the hope of a better future. Later in the afternoon, Liam received a call from Mr. Howard. The Attorney General's voice was steady and reassuring. "I heard from my office that a few people came by today," he said. "Do you need assistance?" "No, sir," Liam replied. "They were just curious. I showed them the papers and explained everything." "Good," Mr. Howard said. "Do not worry about them. I will speak to the local authorities and make sure you are not disturbed again. Your project is too important to be interrupted." "Thank you, sir," Liam said sincerely. "I will continue my testing and send the next report soon." After the call ended, Liam went to the edge of the lake. He knelt down and touched the cool water. The ripples spread in small circles. He thought about how fragile yet powerful nature was. The same water that carried fish and reflections of the sky could also carry energy to power homes. It was beautiful and balanced. As the sun lowered in the sky, the light turned golden. The cabin glowed warmly in the sunset. Liam sat on the porch thinking about the strange visit and about Karen. He did not feel angry toward her. He understood that her fear came from not knowing. Many people reacted the same way when faced with something new. They built walls instead of bridges. But he believed that walls could fall with patience and honesty. In the nearby neighborhood, Karen sat alone on her porch. She looked at the picture she had taken earlier. The glowing sphere, the calm face of Liam, the papers with the government seal. For the first time, she began to doubt her own actions. Maybe she had gone too far. Maybe she had judged too quickly. A small voice inside her whispered that she might have made a mistake. But she pushed the thought aside and told herself she was only protecting the community. That night, the lake was silent again. The moon rose high, shining across the water. The still wave core continued to hum gently inside the cabin, gathering energy from the rhythm of nature. It was a peaceful sound, a promise of progress born from patience and courage. Liam sat by the window, writing in his notebook. His hand moved slowly, recording the new readings, but his thoughts were somewhere else. He wondered how long it would take for people to trust what they did not understand. He hoped that one day humanity would learn to see innovation not as a threat but as a gift. The night breeze moved softly through the trees. The stars reflected on the lake like silver sparks. The next morning began with a soft rain. The sky was gray and the air carried the scent of wet earth and pine. Small drops slid down the windows of Liam's cabin as he stood inside, checking his equipment. The still wave core hummed quietly, glowing with steady light. Each small vibration told him that the machine was healthy and working well. It had been 2 days since the last uninvited visit from Karen and the other HOA members. Liam hoped the situation had finally settled. He wanted peace, not conflict. He had spent years building this project, and the idea of losing it because of misunderstanding made him uneasy. But unknown to him, Karen had not given up. She had spoken with more neighbors, telling them her version of the story. She said that strange power experiments were happening near the lake, and that the government official who visited was hiding something. Her words spread quickly through the community. Some believed her, others did not. But curiosity grew among them. Karen's pride would not let her rest. She wanted to prove that she was right. In her mind, she was protecting her neighborhood from danger. Early that morning, she dressed in her neat blue jacket and put her clipboard under her arm once again. The memory of the Attorney General's calm face and her own embarrassment still bothered her. She wanted to restore her authority. Across the lake, Liam brewed his tea and stepped onto the porch. He looked over the water, which was now covered with a light fog. It was beautiful and quiet. For a moment, he forgot about the problems and only admired nature's peace. The fog drifted slowly across the water like a blanket of white silk. He turned his thoughts to his upcoming report. Mr. Howard, the Attorney General, had promised to visit again soon. This time, he would bring a small team of engineers and observers to officially record the data. Liam wanted everything to be ready. He worked for several hours, checking each sensor, each connection, and writing careful notes. The readings showed more stability than ever before. The project was reaching its perfect balance. It made him proud, and it reminded him that hard work and belief in human ability could create wonders without harming the world. While he worked, he did not see Karen's car stopping near the trees. She had come again, this time alone. She stayed quiet at first, watching through her binoculars. She saw Liam working near the water, kneeling by the small devices placed at the shore. The cables ran gently into the lake, pulsing with faint light. Karen felt both fear and fascination. She wanted to understand what he was doing, but she also wanted to find fault. She slowly moved closer, her shoes sinking into the soft ground after the rain. As she walked, she rehearsed what she would say if she found something wrong. She was ready to record everything and send it to the authorities. Inside the cabin, Liam heard a noise outside and turned his head. At first, he thought it was an animal. When he stepped out to look, he saw Karen standing a few feet away, holding her phone. "Good morning again," he said, trying to stay calm. Karen straightened up. "I see you are still running that machine. You didn't take my warning seriously." "This project is fully approved," Liam said patiently. "You saw the documents yourself." Karen shook her head. "Documents can be faked. I have seen many people claim they have permission when they do not. I have every right to make sure my community stays safe." Liam sighed softly. "You are free to ask questions, but please stop accusing me. You are making things harder for no reason." Karen frowned. "If you have nothing to hide, you will not mind if I take a closer look again." Before Liam could answer, another car appeared on the road. It was black and official looking. The door opened and Mr. Howard stepped out, holding a folder in one hand and an umbrella in the other. Karen turned and froze. She recognized him instantly. Mr. Howard walked toward them, his calm presence commanding quiet. "Good morning," he said evenly. "I see we meet again." Karen's confidence faded. I was just making sure everything here is safe," she said quickly. Mr. Howard smiled politely. "And that is a good thing, but I assure you there is no danger here. This man's project is part of a state-approved program. You already saw the papers last time." Karen's face turned slightly red. "I did, but I still have concerns. Machines like this can harm the environment if not handled properly." Liam stood quietly, letting the official speak. Mr. Howard looked at her and nodded thoughtfully. "Then perhaps you should stay and see for yourself what this machine does." "I was about to inspect it anyway." Karen hesitated. She did not want to refuse a government officer, so she agreed. "All right, I will watch." They walked together to the workshop. Inside, the soft hum of the machine filled the space. Mr. Howard opened his folder and pulled out the test plan. He began asking Liam technical questions while Karen listened, trying to follow the discussion. Liam explained each part clearly. "This device collects magnetic resonance energy from the lake. It does not use fuel or produce waste. It simply mirrors the natural rhythm of the water." Mr. Howard nodded and looked at the live readings. "Excellent stability. The numbers are better than last time." Karen watched, confused but slowly understanding that everything looked safe and organized. The machine was not loud or dangerous. It glowed softly, almost peacefully. After several minutes, Mr. Howard turned to her. "Do you see any harm here, Ms. Karen?" Karen hesitated. "It looks calm, but machines like this can sometimes have hidden effects." Mr. Howard smiled. "That is why we are testing it carefully. You see, this project could bring energy to thousands of homes without cutting trees or burning fuel. Imagine your community using the lake's natural power instead of noisy generators. That is what we are working for." Karen's expression softened a little. She looked at the glowing sphere and thought about her own electric bills. about the times the power went out during storms. For the first time, she wondered if this man's work could actually help. Mr. Howard continued his inspection, taking notes. When he finished, he said to Liam, "Everything is in perfect order. I will send my report to the State Energy Department. I believe this technology has a bright future." "Thank you, sir," Liam said with a smile. Before leaving, Mr. Howard turned to Karen again. "I appreciate your care for the community, but sometimes helping means trusting others who are doing good work. Mr. Liam here is one of those people. It would be better if you supported his efforts rather than doubting them." Karen looked embarrassed. "I understand," she said quietly. After the Attorney General drove away, silence filled the cabin. Karen stood awkwardly for a moment, not sure what to say. Liam did not look angry. He only looked calm and kind. "I know you are trying to protect your neighborhood," he said softly. "That is not wrong. But sometimes we see danger where there is none. Progress needs patience." Karen nodded slowly. "Maybe I did go too far. I thought something bad was happening. I did not want trouble for anyone." "I know," Liam said. "If you want, I can explain more about how this works. That way you will not have to worry." Karen hesitated but agreed. She followed him back inside, where he showed her the small screen displaying the power flow. He explained how the lake's gentle vibrations were turned into energy, without harming fish or plants. He spoke in simple words, making sure she understood. After a few minutes, Karen began to see the beauty of it. The machine was not loud or harsh. It seemed alive, breathing with the rhythm of the water. She realized it was not about control or power, but harmony. "This could really help people," she said softly. "That is the goal," Liam replied. "Humans and nature can work together. We just have to learn how." Karen looked thoughtful. She stood for a moment, then said, "I should go now." "I caused enough trouble," Liam smiled gently. "It is all right. Sometimes change begins with misunderstanding." As she walked back to her car, Karen looked over the lake. The fog was lifting and sunlight touched the water again. For the first time, she saw the cabin not as a problem but as a symbol of hope. She felt lighter as she drove away. When she reached home, she sat quietly in her living room thinking about what she had learned. The image of the glowing sphere stayed in her mind. She realized she had been quick to judge and slow to listen. It was not easy to admit, but she began to respect the man she had once accused. At the lake cabin, Liam continued his work. The readings showed perfect harmony. The still wave core was stable and strong. He wrote his notes carefully and smiled. The misunderstanding had turned into understanding. He believed that if even one person could see the truth, others would follow. As evening came, the sky turned golden again. The lake shined like glass and birds flew low over the water. Liam stood on the porch watching the reflection of the setting sun. He felt grateful. He thought about the human spirit, about how curiosity and fear could live side by side. But he also knew that courage and kindness were stronger. Humans always found a way to move forward even when the path was unclear. The cabin lights turned on softly, powered entirely by the lake. The gentle hum of the machine mixed with the sound of the wind through the trees. The world felt peaceful again. Far away, Karen stood by her window looking at the same lake. For the first time, she smiled instead of frowning. Something had changed in her heart. The sun rose gently over the lake. A golden light touched the calm water and painted soft reflections on the windows of the cabin. Liam stood on the porch, watching the mist move across the surface of the lake. It was peaceful again after the strange visit from Karen. Inside the cabin, the machine hummed quietly. The sound was steady and deep, like the slow rhythm of a heartbeat. Mr. Howard, the state attorney general, was sitting at the wooden table with papers spread out in front of him. He looked calm, but his eyes were sharp and thoughtful. Liam entered the cabin with a mug of coffee and placed it beside him. "Everything is running fine," Liam said. "The system kept working through the night. It's more stable now than before." Mr. Howard nodded. "Good work. Once we complete the final readings, the state will have enough data to approve your project for public testing. You have done something that could change how we power our cities." Liam smiled a little. "I just wanted to make something that helps people. I am not interested in fame. I only want clean energy for everyone." Outside, the air smelled fresh. Birds sang near the trees, but there was also a quiet tension in the air. News of yesterday's event had spread quickly through the nearby community. Some people believed strange rumors about Liam and his invention. Others were curious to see if the stories about clean energy were true. By midday, a small group of neighbors had gathered at the edge of the property. They whispered to each other while looking at the cabin. One of them held a camera, another one carried a notebook. They wanted answers. Liam noticed them from the window. He sighed and looked at Mr. Howard. "It seems we have visitors again." Mr. Howard gave a short smile. "This time it might be better to speak with them. Let them understand what you are doing here. Fear grows faster than truth when people are left in the dark." Liam nodded. He opened the door and stepped outside. The group became quiet when he walked toward them. "I know many of you have questions," Liam began in a calm voice. "Please don't be afraid. I am not hiding anything. The project I am working on is approved by the state. It is meant to create clean power using the lake's natural energy." A man in the group spoke up. "We heard that your machine can affect the water and harm the fish. Is that true?" Liam shook his head. "No, that is not true. The system only collects magnetic energy that naturally flows through the water. It doesn't take anything away from the lake. It doesn't change the temperature or harm life inside. It simply uses what nature already gives." The crowd listened. Some of them looked doubtful, but others began to show interest. Liam could see curiosity in their eyes. He decided to show them more. "Come with me," he said. "You can see it for yourself." The neighbors followed him to the cabin. Mr. Howard stood near the machine, watching as they entered. The machine looked simple but strong. It had a smooth silver body with lights that pulsed gently like breathing. Cables ran to the lake through narrow tubes that shimmered slightly in the sunlight. Liam explained each part in simple words. He showed them how the machine collected magnetic energy and converted it into power that could light homes without pollution. He told them how it could bring electricity to remote villages and reduce the cost of living. When he pressed a button, a soft vibration filled the air. A small light bulb on the table glowed brightly. The people gasped. The machine made no noise, no smoke, and no heat. It just worked quietly, taking power from the natural flow of the lake. A young woman in the group smiled. "That's amazing. It's clean and quiet." Liam nodded. "Yes. This is what humanity can do when we work with nature instead of against it." Mr. Howard stepped forward. His voice was firm but kind. "This project is one of the most important steps toward a better future. It shows that humans are capable of more than just taking. We can build, heal, and protect at the same time." The people listened closely. They began to see Liam not as a rule breaker, but as a person trying to help everyone. The fear in their faces slowly changed into respect. After a few minutes, the crowd thanked Liam and began to leave. Some promised to tell others the truth. A few even offered to help him test the system. As the sun lowered, the lake turned golden again. Liam and Mr. Howard went back inside the cabin to continue their data review. "This is how change begins," Mr. Howard said. "Not through big speeches, but through simple understanding." Liam agreed. When people see the truth with their own eyes, they stop fearing what they don't understand. They spent hours checking readings from the machine. Each number confirmed that the system was working better than expected. The machine's power efficiency had grown. It produced clean energy without disturbing the lake's ecosystem. It was the kind of result scientists dream of but rarely achieve. When the final readings were done, Mr. Howard leaned back in his chair. "I will send this data to the capital tonight. The governor will be very interested in this success. You should be proud, Liam." Liam smiled softly. "I am proud, but not for myself. I am proud that humans can still make things that heal instead of harm." Outside, the cabin lights shone warmly through the windows. The lake reflected those lights like a mirror. Everything seemed peaceful again. But both men knew that peace was fragile. Some people would still doubt them, and some would try to stop the project. Change always faced resistance. Late that night, Liam stepped outside once more. The sky was full of stars. He could hear the gentle hum of the machine inside the cabin. It was steady like the heartbeat of the future. He thought about all that had happened, about Karen's anger, the fear of the neighbors, and the courage it took to keep standing firm. Humanity was complicated, but he believed in its strength, the same strength that had built cities, cured diseases, and now was finding ways to live without destroying the planet. He felt proud, not because he was special, but because he was human. He knew that humans could learn from mistakes and grow stronger with time. That was what made them unique among all living beings. A faint sound came from the woods. Liam turned and saw a familiar figure approaching the cabin path. It was Karen. She walked slowly, her head slightly down. She was carrying a small basket in her hands. Liam waited quietly as she came closer. When she reached him, she looked nervous. "I just wanted to say sorry," she said softly. "I didn't understand what you were doing. I thought you were breaking the rules." "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Liam smiled kindly. "It's all right. You didn't know the full story. Fear makes people act before they think. But you came here today, and that shows you have a good heart." Karen offered the basket. "I brought you some bread. I baked it this morning. It's my way of saying sorry." Liam accepted it with gratitude. "Thank you." "You didn't have to, but I appreciate it." She nodded and looked toward the lake. "It's beautiful here. I never really stopped to see it like this. I guess I was too busy thinking about rules and control." "Sometimes rules are useful," Liam said gently, "but sometimes they can block progress. The real challenge is knowing when to hold on and when to let go." Karen smiled faintly. "Maybe I can learn from that." They stood there quietly for a moment, listening to the soft sound of the water and the distant call of an owl. The world seemed calm, full of quiet promise. Karen left after a while, feeling lighter than before. Liam went back inside. Mr. Howard looked up and said, "That was kind of you." "She needed understanding, not anger." Liam replied, "If humans can understand each other, we can solve anything." Mr. Howard nodded. "And that, my friend, is why this project matters so much. It is not just about energy. It is about hope." Liam sat by the window, watching the reflection of stars in the lake. The machine glowed softly in the background, a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it worked with nature and kindness instead of fear and pride. He felt tired but peaceful. The next day would bring new challenges, but he was ready. He believed that the light of human will was strong enough to guide them through anything. And as the night deepened, the cabin stood as a quiet symbol of progress, glowing softly by the edge of the endless lake. Morning light touched the surface of the lake like soft gold. Gentle ripples moved across the water as birds called from the trees. The air was cool, filled with the clean scent of pine and dew. Liam stood outside the cabin, feeling calm for the first time in many days. The machine inside the cabin was silent now, resting after a night of testing. It had done its job perfectly. The energy readings had been higher than ever before. Every result was a sign that his dream was no longer just an idea. It was real. Mr. Howard stepped out of the cabin holding a small folder. His coat moved slightly in the morning wind. He looked pleased but thoughtful. "It is finished," he said. "I have sent the full report to the governor. They have approved your design for a state energy pilot." "You did it, Liam," Liam smiled. He did not jump or shout. He only felt a deep sense of peace. "That means people will finally see what we can build when we work with nature," he said. "That is what really matters," Mr. Howard nodded. "The first testing site will be built near this lake. They want you to lead the team." Liam looked out at the calm water. "I will stay," he said. "This place feels like the right beginning. Everything started here. It should continue here." Inside the small cabin, the machine stood silent but powerful. Its silver surface reflected the light that entered through the window. It was the result of years of work, long nights, and endless patience. It was more than technology. It was a symbol of what humans could do when guided by hope instead of fear. Later that day, trucks arrived carrying scientists, engineers, and reporters. People from nearby towns also came, curious about the new project. Cameras pointed toward the lake while reporters asked questions about the energy source and the technology. Liam answered calmly, explaining every part in simple terms. He wanted everyone to understand that this invention was for them. Karen also came. She stood near the back of the crowd holding a notebook. She no longer looked angry or defensive. She listened quietly, her eyes following Liam as he spoke. When their eyes met, she gave a small nod of respect. Liam returned it with a kind smile. The governor arrived soon after, walking beside Mr. Howard. The crowd moved aside as they came to stand near the cabin. The governor looked around, impressed by the beauty of the place. "So this is where it began," he said. "The lake that might change our entire power system." Mr. Howard smiled. "Yes, sir. And the man who made it possible is right here." He turned toward Liam. "Meet Liam, the creator of the resonance energy converter." Liam bowed his head slightly. "It is an honor to have you here, Governor. I am happy to show you how it works." The governor stepped closer to the machine. "It looks simple," he said. Liam nodded. "That is the beauty of it. Simplicity makes it reliable. The lake has natural magnetic energy flowing beneath the surface. The machine collects that energy, converts it into electricity, and stores it. It does not pollute. It does not harm the fish or the plants. It only uses what is already there." He pressed a button on the side of the machine. A soft hum filled the air. A few small lights turned on inside the cabin, glowing steadily. The sound was calm and steady like a heartbeat. The crowd watched in silence. The governor reached out and touched the smooth metal. "It feels alive," he said. "In a way it is," Liam replied. "It breathes with the rhythm of the lake. It shows that human progress can grow beside nature, not against it." The governor turned to the cameras. "This is the kind of future we need. Clean, strong, and human." The crowd cheered. Reporters wrote down every word. Cameras flashed. Liam felt proud, not for himself, but for everyone standing there. This was not just his victory. It was proof that people could change for the better. After the ceremony ended, the crowd slowly began to leave. Some stayed behind to ask questions. Others simply stood near the lake, watching the sunlight move across the water. Karen walked up to Liam as he was shutting down the machine for the day. "I wanted to thank you," she said softly. "You were patient when I was not. I learned something important this week. I learned that rules are not always the same as what is right. Sometimes doing the right thing means listening first." Liam smiled. "Everyone learns in their own time. What matters is that you cared enough to try again." Karen looked at the machine. "I used to think humans only broke things, but now I see we can also fix them. Maybe the lake will remember that." "The lake remembers everything," Liam said. "It remembers peace, storms, and all the hands that built cabins along its shore. It will remember this too." Karen smiled. "Maybe we will all remember." She left quietly, feeling lighter than she had in years. As evening came, the sky turned deep orange and pink. Mr. Howard sat with Liam on the porch. They watched the sunlight dance on the water. "You have done something bigger than you know," Mr. Howard said. "This project will change how people see power. It will also change how they see humanity." Liam looked at the horizon. "Sometimes I wonder if humans deserve the chance to start again." Mr. Howard smiled. "We do, because even with our mistakes, we always try again. That is what makes us human. We fall, but we stand back up." They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars begin to appear. The air grew cool, and the gentle hum of insects filled the quiet space around them. A small child from the nearby village came running down the path with his mother following close behind. He stopped in front of Liam, holding a drawing. "My teacher told us about your machine," he said proudly. "I made a picture of it." Liam took the paper gently. The drawing showed a simple cabin, a bright machine, and the sun shining over the lake. "This is wonderful," he said with a warm smile. "You drew it better than I could." The boy grinned. "Will it help people in our town too?" "Yes," Liam said. "It will help everyone. You will grow up in a world with cleaner air and brighter lights." The boy smiled wider. "Then you're a hero." Liam laughed softly. "No, I'm just someone who believes humans can do good things." The boy's mother thanked Liam and led her son back toward the village. Mr. Howard looked at Liam with quiet respect. "That child will remember this day for the rest of his life." "Then maybe that is enough," Liam said. Night came gently. The stars reflected on the lake like tiny lanterns. The machine inside the cabin gave off a soft blue glow that mixed with the starlight. It looked like part of the night sky had come down to rest beside the water. Liam walked to the edge of the lake. He touched the surface with his hand. The water was cold and alive. He felt connected to everything around him, the trees, the wind, the stars above. He realized that his invention was not just about power. It was about connection. Humans had always searched for control, for strength, for comfort. But the real power came from harmony. From learning to live in balance, Mr. Howard came to stand beside him. "Tomorrow I return to the capital," he said. "There will be meetings and announcements. But tonight this moment belongs to you." Liam shook his head. "It belongs to everyone. Every person who chooses hope over fear. Every mind that believes we can make the world better. That is the real victory." The two men stood in silence, watching the moon rise over the lake. When the first light of dawn came again, the cabin stood like a quiet guardian beside the water. New workers arrived to set up equipment for the expansion project. The lake shimmered with life and the sound of tools mixed with laughter and conversation. Karen came once more, this time helping the volunteers carry supplies. The people worked together with smiles on their faces. No one argued about rules. No one shouted orders. They shared food, stories, and ideas. Liam watched them and felt his heart fill with pride. This was what he had dreamed of, humans working together without fear or greed. Each person contributing to something bigger than themselves. By afternoon, the first small power line connected to the machine. A switch was pressed and lights along the shoreline came alive. The villagers cheered. For the first time, the lake community had power that came directly from nature, clean and endless. Karen looked at the glowing lights and whispered, "It's beautiful." "It is just the beginning," Liam said. "One day every lake and river might carry light like this. Not because of me, but because of what we learned here." As the sun set once more, the cabin lights blended with the soft glow of the horizon. The machine continued to hum quietly, steady and peaceful. Liam stood with Mr. Howard and the villagers, watching the light spread across the lake. The reflection looked like a field of stars floating on water. It was a reminder that humanity's greatest strength was not power or control. It was the ability to grow, to learn, and to create hope even in the smallest places. That night, as the world around the lake rested, the machine continued to sing its quiet song. It was the song of progress, of balance, and of human spirit. The cabin, the lake, and the people became symbols of what humanity could achieve when guided by courage and kindness.